Hello, friends, welcome. This is Kimis, and I would like to discuss with you today the matter of lackluster book translations. Reading nowadays requires a lot of effort. It asks for your undivided attention, which, as we know, is becoming hard to maintain in the era of shortening attention span. It asks of you to think critically, and as we see on the bookish side of social media, it might be becoming the next topic of general concern. However, among all these almost unattainable skills right now, there is a teeny tiny one which you need additionally just to sit down to a book if you're a non native English speaker, and it is English proficiency. Look, I like to read and I like to listen to audiobooks. When selecting moments which will in the end consist of my reading menu, I try to blend eye opening nonfiction, current book talk favorites, and all time international classic literature. And what I notice when interacting with some of the recently published and quite popular books is the laziest, most not non translative translation from English. The topic seems concerning to me on few different levels. First of all, it significantly impacts the reading experience. Instead of feeling the feelings of the characters and thinking about what they're going through in that moment, I start to analyze. There are two examples which live in my memory rent free. One actually moved in only yesterday and enraged me enough to write, record, and edit this whole video. When listening to a translation of Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of the characters called himself a nice guy. The team responsible for translation decided to use a term in my native language, which is a literal translation. But mind you, the term nice guy does not function in my language as it does in English. If I called you a nice guy, everybody would think that you're the type of a guy who always greets their neighbors and helps elderly cross the street. You know, an actual nice guy. So, what was the intention here? Was it for me as a reader to take the term at its face value? Because if so, there are much better terms which encompass the whole idea behind the nice guy term. They're less literal, yes, but definitely more similar in meaning. And if the intention of this particular translation was to evoke the sentiments behind nice guy as we know them from the internet, what's even the point of the whole translation? If the literary work requires not only for high social media literacy, but also for the proficiency in English, which would require for instant recognition of the term, why even bother with translation? There's just too many layers and too much work to be done by the reader. It's like being served a meal that you're eager to taste in a toilet bowl. You know, like that one restaurant we all saw pictures from? You may push through and eat the whole dish, but the experience will forever be tainted by the circumstances in which you had it. Okay, before anyone comes for me, I understand that the nice guy example might be a little bit tricky. I get you. There might be, and had been worse. In a novel, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, two main characters, Oraya and Ryan, fight together against their enemies. In one moment, our protagonist observes that their powers complement each other. Obviously, the intended meaning was that their powers work nicely together. However, what I got in my translation and what made me turn off the audiobook, walk away, and never come back was not a translation per se, but a very similar sounding word in my native language, which was then conjugated and produced an abomination, meaning their powers gave each other compliments. I'm sorry to say, this is just ridiculous. The whole discussion poses a question of who is to be blamed, or rather, who should accept this kind of feedback and try to do better. Is it one or other translator who faces choice of looking into proper phrasing in the language or leaving it as it is in the spirit of they're a part of internet culture, they'll understand? Or is the whole blame to be shifted to an editor of the translated copy for not picking up on poor word choices and omissions made by young, probably chronically online translator? Or should we look at the publishing houses for giving into the hype and trying to sell a popular book as fast as possible prioritizing speed over quality. And to be honest, it doesn't get better if your level of proficiency in English doesn't allow for this type of considerations. You're spared the struggle because you don't know what's behind that one awkwardly translated term, but aren't you also getting deprived from the intended meaning and message of that piece of work? Quite frankly, I'm sorry for the authors. Most of them might not have means to verify if the translation gives justice to their work. I believe that together with their publishing team, they do their best to come up with the best way to project certain ideas. Best as most accurate, but maybe also most literary enticing. So if a bad translation does damage to the experience we as readers have, it must be a whole lot of a different disaster for the author. I can only imagine it's a feeling similar to asking your relative to childcare for an evening just to later realize that they broke all the dietary rules you and your partner have been carefully establishing for the past months. And let me tell you, it's not even about being the language purist. I witness that battle constantly on the media as more and more English terms come to use in my language, may it be through corporate talk or youth slang. And I accept a concept of transition of foreign terms into the language as a part of its natural evolution. First in speech, and most likely for new technologies and inventions. Later, it'll move on to written language, academia, and politics. It happened before, and it will keep happening again and again. My bone to pick is with people so far up internet culture that they cut out words or even entire phrases in English, glue them together MacGyver style to another language, and call it translation. Translation to a language in which, mind you, these words might already exist and ask for no update. So, yeah, I'm just tired of such lazy, poor quality translations, but I'm also very happy for every new publication which was done properly. I've recently read Can You Solve the Murder by Anthony Johnston, and it was done beautifully. I recommend it in any language actually, as it is an interactive novel in which you follow the leads and decide which witnesses you'd like to interrogate. Great fun, really. I might be getting into more details of that in the future. Anyway, I got it off my chest. I'm curious, what are your thoughts, and if you also noticed such thing happening in your languages? You know what would be fun? To read a foreign book in English and see if other languages also get translated so poorly. I might try that one day just for fun. Anyway, thank you for watching and see you soon.